Review: iPhone 14 and iPhone 14 Plus. Pricing availability. iPhone 14 pricing starts at $799 for 128 GB of storage, while pricing on the iPhone 14 Plus starts at $899 for 128 GB of storage. Additional storage is available for a higher price. Pre-orders began on Friday, September 9th, and a launch for the iPhone 14 followed on Friday, September 16th. The larger iPhone 14 Plus became available on Friday, October 7th. Design. The iPhone 14 is essentially identical to the iPhone 13, with no design updates aside from new colors. It features the same flat-sided design with squared-off edges that Apple used for last year's iPhones. Apple's iPhone 14 measures in at 6.1 inches, while the larger screened iPhone 14 Plus measures in at 6.7 inches, the same size as the iPhone 14 Pro Max. Colors. Apple has been offering its standard iPhone lineup in a range of bright colors for several years now. The iPhone 14 models come in blue, purple, midnight, starlight, and product red. There have been no updates to the display with the iPhone 14 models compared to the prior generation iPhone 13 models. The iPhone 14 and 14 Plus feature an OLED Super Retina XDR display with a 2,000,000,1 contrast ratio for blacker blacks and brighter whites, and up to 1200 nits peak brightness for HDR photos, videos, TV shows, and movies. Typical max brightness is 800 nits for the standard iPhone 14 models, 200 nits lower than the 14 Pro models. The iPhone 14 has a resolution of 2532 by 1170 with 460 pixels per inch, while the iPhone 14 Plus has a resolution of 2778 by 1284 with 458 pixels per inch. Wide color support offers vivid, true-to-life colors, and true tone matches the white balance of the display to the ambient lighting for a paper-like viewing experience that's easier on the eyes. There's also a fingerprint-resistant oleophobic coating and support for haptic touch, which provides haptic feedback when interacting with the display. The iPhone 14 measures in at 5.78 inches tall, 146.7 millimeters, 2.82 inches wide, 71.5 millimeters, and 0.31 inches deep, 7.80 millimeters, identical to the iPhone 13 except for the thickness. It is 0.15 millimeters thicker, which is something that most people will not notice. The iPhone 14 weighs 6.07 ounces, 172 grams, so it is just a bit lighter than the iPhone 13. The iPhone 14 Plus measures in at 6.33 inches tall, 160.8 millimeters, 3.07 inches wide, 78.1 millimeters, and 0.31 inches thick, 7.80 millimeters. It weighs in at 7.16 ounces, 203 grams. Water and dust resistance. The iPhone 14 and 14 Plus have an IP68 rating for resistance to water and dust intrusion. The smartphones are able to withstand a depth of up to 6 meters, 19.7 feet, for up to 30 minutes. Water and dust resistance. In the IP68 number, the 6 refers to dust resistance, and means the iPhone 14 can hold up to dirt, dust, and other particulates, while the 8 pertains to water resistance. IP6X is the highest dust resistance rating that exists. With the IP68 rating, the iPhone 14 can hold up to splashes, rain, and accidental water exposure, but intentional water exposure should be avoided. Water and dust resistance. Water and dust resistance are not permanent conditions, according to Apple, and can deteriorate over time as a result of normal wear. Apple's standard warranty does not cover liquid damage, which means it's best to use caution when it comes to liquid exposure. Storage space. All iPhone 14 models start with 128 GB of storage, and the iPhone 14 and iPhone 14 Plus can be ordered with up to 512 GB storage space. That's half the maximum storage space of the iPhone 14 Pro models, which come with up to 1 TB. Camera. There's an updated 12-megapixel wide camera that features a larger sensor, an f/1.5 aperture, and larger 1.9 pixels for improved performance in low light, plus there's sensor shift optical image stabilization. Apple also added an updated true-depth camera with an f/1.9 aperture, and while the ultra-wide lens didn't get improvements, the photonic engine improves low-light photography across all of the iPhone 14 cameras. True-depth camera and Face ID. The iPhone 14 and 14 Plus continue to use Face ID, the facial recognition system first introduced in 2017. Apple eliminated the notch with the iPhone 14 Pro models, but the standard iPhone 14 models continue to feature a display notch for the true-depth camera hardware. Face ID is used across iOS for unlocking the iPhone, allowing access to third-party passcode-protected apps, confirming app purchases, authenticating Apple Pay payments, and more. Front-facing camera features. Apple's iPhone 14 models feature an updated 12-megapixel front-facing camera with an f/1.9 aperture that is designed to let in more light than before for improved selfies and FaceTime video calls. It also features autofocus for the first time, which also improves image quality, and low-light selfies are 2x better. The front-facing camera supports many of the same features as the rear cameras, including night mode for selfies, Smart HDR4, Dolby Vision HDR recording, Deep Fusion, and the new photonic engine, along with ProRes and the cinematic mode for capturing videos with movie-like depth of field changes. 4K video recording, quick-take video, slow-mo video, portrait mode, portrait lighting, and the photographic styles feature for selectively applying edits are also supported on the front-facing camera. Dual-lens rear camera. The iPhone 14 and 14 Plus are equipped with a dual-lens camera setup that features both a 12-megapixel wide lens, which Apple now calls the main lens, and a 12-megapixel ultra-wide lens. RAM. The iPhone 14 and 14 Plus feature 6 GB RAM, up from 4 GB in the prior generation models. Neural engine. The 16-core neural engine in the A15 chip is able to perform up to 15.8 trillion operations per second, and it powers features like cinematic mode and Smart HDR4. A 15 bionic chip. The iPhone 14 and 14 Plus feature the same A15 chip that was used in the iPhone 13 Pro and Pro Max, and this is the first time that Apple has not updated the A-series chip across the iPhone lineup. The iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max have an A16 chip, but Apple did not use the technology in the 14 and 14 Plus. The A15 has a 6-core CPU with 2 performance cores and 4 efficiency cores, along with a 5-core GPU. Apple last year only used the 5-core GPU version of the A15 in the iPhone 13 Pro models, and a 4-core GPU version was in the iPhone 13 and 13 mini, so there are still improvements comparatively. While CPU performance is about the same between the iPhone 13 and iPhone 14, there are some modest improvements to the GPU. Apple is also using an updated internal design that provides better thermal efficiency. MagSafe. There continue to be MagSafe magnets at the back of the iPhone 14 models, with those magnets able to connect to the MagSafe charger and other magnetic accessories. Official MagSafe chargers from Apple and authorized third parties can wirelessly charge the iPhone 14 models at up to 15W. Battery life. There is a 3,279 mAh battery in the iPhone 14, which is a bit larger than the battery from the prior generation iPhone 13. The iPhone 14 Plus has a 4,325 mAh battery. The iPhone 14 offers up to 20 hours of battery life for video playback, up to 16 hours for streaming video playback, and up to 80 hours for audio playback, which is an improvement over the iPhone 13 by about an hour. Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, NFC, GPS, and U1. The iPhone 14 and 14 Plus support Wi-Fi 6, 802.11ax, with 2x2 MIMO, and Bluetooth 5.3. There's an NFC chip with reader mode, and a U1 ultra-wideband chip. The U1 provides improved spatial awareness, allowing iPhone 14 models to precisely locate other U1-equipped Apple devices. USB-C. Apple in 2023 will opt for a USB-C port for the iPhone instead of a Lightning port, according to Bloomberg and Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo. This would see USB-C as the default charging method over Lightning for all iPhone 15 models. Crash detection. There's a high dynamic range gyroscope and a dual-core accelerometer capable of detecting G-force measurements of up to 256 Gs in the iPhone 14 models, and paired with other iPhone sensors like a barometer that can detect cabin pressure changes caused by deployed airbags, this new hardware enables a crash detection feature. Emergency SOS via satellite. All iPhone 14 models can connect to satellites in emergency situations when cellular and Wi-Fi connections are not available. Apple has designed a new emergency SOS via satellite feature to allow the iPhone's antennas to connect to satellites operated by Globalstar. 5G bands. The iPhone 14 models in the United States support more than 20 5G bands. The following bands are supported. Sub-6 GHz 5G, bands N1, N2, N3, N5, N7, N8, N12, N14, N20, N25, N26, N28, N29, N30, N38, N40, N41, N48, N53, N66, N70, N71, N77, N78 and 79. mmWave 5G, bands N258, N260, N261. LTE bands. The iPhone 14 models continue to offer gigabit LTE with 4x4 MIMO for connecting to LTE networks when 5G is unavailable. The following bands are supported. FDD LTE, bands 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 12, 13, 14, 17, 18, 19, 20, 25, 26, 28, 29, 30, 32, 66, 71. TD-LTE, bands 34, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 46, 48, 53. Review.